My name's Eric Allatta. I teach the Introduction to Computer Science course at a New York City public school called the Academy for Software Engineering. So this year I was finally able to use the What's Going On in this Graph activity to connect the computer programming work to the results of the computer programs, and also deeply connect the course into what students are doing in their living environment science class, and in their earth science class, and in their algebra class, where statistics and analyzing and interpreting data are important standards in those classes as well. The two main skills that I want to convey in Introduction to Computer Science are being able to apply computing tools to create something. So you could use a program to create an animation or an app or a website. I also want students to be able to interpret the results of the programs. So I want to support them using claim, evidence, and reasoning the same way they would in ELA or in science class. And I want them to do that, but with the results of computer programs. What's going on in this graph has changed a lot about my teaching by realizing how important it is to connect to ELA specifically, to connect to English, literature, and history classes. So what I mean is that those classes are developing routines and protocols for students to engage in discussion and use each other as resources, and to use discussion and writing to generate new ideas. The reason why that's important is that we can't rely on just like kind of self-guided learning to just come out of learning how to write a line of computer programming. The things that the English teachers are doing to help students unpack a difficult text, like our 9th grade teacher might be reading The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison or Frankenstein. I mean, these are incredibly difficult texts, but they have protocols that allow the entire classroom to engage. So I think being able to bring in those, so I've been able to bring in those tools that the other classrooms are developing. And because if I do it well, and this not always happens, but sometimes it does happen, where we're able to leverage something that's happening in another classroom, and then it clicks for students, like, oh, you mean you want us to do the same thing? And yes, I say yes, it's exactly the same. That is the same kind of building up of ideas, the same way that I need to be able to look at a complex problem and be able to solve it with different functions. It's the same way that I would look at a complex story and narrative and look at different themes and how the different characters interact. So I think we have a lot to do to leverage what's already happening, what students already bring to the table. And then that can really help us to not have to reteach those skills and routines, but also help the students feel more connected. And for me, it just has really changed how I think about computer programming, because there's so many more ways for students to get engaged. And then later on, I can teach them things that are maybe more technical or more complicated. But if I've gotten the engagement and with the discussion and the participation, then I've already gotten most of the way there.